the one question was asked, how old do you have to be licensed to fly that drone? 16.
Oh, driver's license age.
Yeah,
Really?
there's opportunity there. How many kids are sitting at home with good eye and hand coordination,
Yeah.
playing them games and virtual games and whatnot? It gives them, and it ties in that technology that they just might have a passion for.
So I am so curious. I've probably asked you this in passing and in times before. What made you want to get into being an auctioneer?
It was a random idea. I think I was in my second year of college here at Eastern, and I took the fall quarter off. Typical college kid, not sure what you wanted to grow up to be. And so I worked that fall in construction with some friends here locally. And it was rainy and cold in November. No, it wasn't November. It was October. Early October. And we're pouring the concrete foundation of that water facility in Cove, the Blue Mountain Springs or whatever it is.
Okay.
And I come home one day, and I was getting, at the time, I subscribed to Western Horseman magazine.
Okay.
Happened to be going through the back advertising section, the very back few pages, and I run across this ad for Western College of Auctioneering. And of course, going to the sale barn once in a while growing up, it's always intriguing to listen to them, but I never even gave it a thought until I run across that ad, and I was like, that'd be interesting. That random, oh, look, it's in Billings, Montana. It gives me an excuse to get to Montana.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I sent in my $1,500 and signed up and took a road trip by myself. I think I spent the first night on the way there in Moscow, Idaho, where I had some friends going to school, and then went to Billings and spent 2 weeks, and then come back, and they just basically teach you number scales and tongue twisters. But when you leave, you don't sound much different than when you showed up.
Oh, really? So it's all in your practicing at home after they teach you the art, and then you have to figure out your own
filler words, own rhythm, style.
Interesting.
So on the way home, you had, I don't know how many miles it is back there, but I know it's like 11 or 12 hours of telephone poles you can sell on down the road. So, yeah, it just takes a lot of practice. And then when you get home, if you're interested in doing something like that, then you start working, volunteering yourself for benefit auctions. They've got dessert auction for this family, for this cause. And so you start doing that, and you just start getting some practice. Then pretty soon you start getting asked to go to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Duck Unlimited and those types of banquets, and stepping in there. And you just kind of here, it's been, what now? Probably 26 years.
Okay.
Of practicing. And then you just evolve.
Yeah, I remember as a young boy, it was Justin Nedrow, who I grew up in Wallowa County listening to, doing the sales and stuff. And I kind of the same thing. I thought, you hear it all the time, and it's just one of those things. It's like, man, that's kind of cool. There's nothing, I don't know, maybe it's the blood in my rural body coursing through that. Like, there's just something that's a live auction. Like there's an energy, and the things are happening, and there's nothing else like it with a good auctioneer. I'm not talking about these yahoos in suits that are, they're just talking, but like you said, the tongue twisters and your filler words, and you have a tone. You've got, I'm not going to say like a drawl, but you have like a rural tone to you. It's really cool, man.
No, thanks. No, it is definitely a self-designed, unless you go to some of these schools. There's a couple in Missouri, I think, down there. And I mean, everybody sounds, you can tell who went to which school.
Oh, really?
I can tell a lot by a guy's chant if he went to Billings or he went to the one in Missouri. And then the guys in Missouri, they just have a little different spin, a little different use of filler words, but they're all more similar. To whereas guys that went to Billings are all they're similar, but they're different. So yeah.
Is that the difference between like East Coast and West Coast like hip hop?
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Who was your mentor as a hip hop star? You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna have an impact on you.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, so do you still love doing it? You've been doing it for so many years. Do you still love doing the auctioneer thing? I mean, I know how much you enjoy, dessert auctions because there's just so many items, right?
Yeah. No, I love it. I love being involved with the community that way. That's how I feel like I'm giving back. If I can't donate monetarily or buy an item at one of these auctions, well, at least I can be of service with my voice. And yeah, there are some that I like more than others. Um, Dessert auctions aren't bad unless you have 30 or 40 pies and cakes to sell, and there's only so many desserts you can sell at a function each night, you
Right.
know. But I enjoy the ones that really make you kind of work are the banquet auctions, your Rocky Mountain Elk Foundations, your Ducks Unlimited, because they kind of have some higher, you know, achievable steps that they want to get to on certain items. And it's like, boy, you don't know this county like I do.
Oh,
We might be able to get to here, and you better be prepared to get to there. If we go above and beyond that, that is great. That's success.
sure.
And then, of course, I step in at Intermountain Livestock Exchange on their big sales. Kind of help the auctioneer out there. He comes up from the Treasure Valley. He'll sell for 3-4 hours straight, and then I'll wrap up the last 2-3 hours. And I joke with him, by the time I'm getting home, he's getting home because I give him that much break. Well, he's ready to go back home, and so that one's fun. That one's total price discovery. What is the market doing at that time? And with a green auctioneer as myself, I feel going into a market like that, it can be a little challenging to try and find that because you're working with professional buyers. They know what they're looking for, and they absolutely know what that animal's worth. And I don't know as well. I know cattle, but I'll look at a cattle and be like, well, the last group went through, sold for this. This ought to be right there in that mark. And sometimes I'm right. Most of the times I'm not. And it's just total price discovery.
Sure.
Mhm.
So how do you, being in that situation and being on the fly, let's say you started a bid too high, how do you adjust for that?
Oh, you just roll it back down. It's like when they teach you their billings, they literally teach you number scales like you would a song, like choir practice.
Oh, interesting.
So one of them is, you can roll up by tens, 10, 10, 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, and you get all the way to 100, then you do it all backwards. 100, 90, 90, 80, 80, 70, 70, 60, 60, 50, or I usually go by 2.5, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20, 22.5, 25, 27.5, 30, 27.5, 25, 22.5, 20, 17.5, 15, 12.
Oh, interesting.
So that way, if you start too high and you've seen this even at the Festival of Trees, I think that tree's going to bring 3,000. That's where I want to start anyways. I know no one's not going to bid that. Rarely do they bid my opening number. So then you just work it back down.
Okay. Interesting. That's what you mean by scales. I like how you said like choir practice, like you're running up the scale, running back the scale. So you got to know the scale that you tend to, or what did you say? It was something and a half?
2.5,
2.5?
5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20, 22.5, 25, 27.5, 30. And then you roll backwards
Interesting.
in that same format.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, I love that. I love that. You're getting me fired up right now. Yeah. Um, for those of you that don't know, Mr. Jake Seavert here is one of our current sitting county commissioners.
The man, the myth, the legend.
And we are going to talk about many things regarding that seat, but I also wanted to have you guys get to know who he is outside of that. We're going to talk a little bit about origin story, but we will get to some of the nitty gritty, what I call the more dense content. But before we get into some of the more dense content, how do you, as an MC myself, when you are up there, how do you view the room and like the energy of the room and like control the room? Like you know what I'm talking about? Like it's kind of hard. Like as an MC, I have certain tricks and things that I see, but like how do you kind of control that energy and how do you approach a live situation?
You've got to not only control, but create that energy. The person that's behind the microphone creates energy, and you've got to bring energy yourself. Whether you want to or feel like it or not, the success of the event that you're either emceeing or auctioneering at is, I mean, that's why you'll throw in a little humor every now and then, to see if, for one, if they're paying attention to what's going on, for two, to lighten everybody up, to kind of get them into that mood. So then you kind of read that energy, and of course, surprisingly, I do know a lot of people in the community,
Oh, sure.
and I'll know which ones I can pick on or not. And so usually I'll throw a little something in there, or you get two people at the same table bidding on the same thing. You can have a little fun with that, and it gets everybody's mood lightened up. So you got to create and control it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love what you said about it. When you know certain people in the community and know which ones you can kind of not harass, but like you can poke at a little bit and like have some, jar. You can jar with them a little bit. I was recently invited to go MC a business conference over at the Pendleton Convention Center, and they had seen me MC some of these events over here. And I knew I wasn't going to know anybody over there. So I said, I'm going to go over the night before, go to the meet and greet, just meet some people, take some business cards. And I couldn't remember their names, but I had their business cards the next morning. And I said, hey, I met somebody. Hey, is Greg here? Greg, hey, I enjoyed. And when I saw him, I was like, I remember what we talked about. That helped us. That helped so much. Even just going the night before, shaking some hands, getting to know some of the people in the room, being able to reference the night before. And I felt like it was a service to, and it kind of honored them too, because it's like, hey, you made just that little extra effort in the little time you had to try and get to know people. And I think that speaks volumes.
Oh, big time, big time. I would say throughout my life, I've not only got to know a lot of people in the county, regionally, statewide, but we've spent time in Idaho, we've spent time in Montana, and you just run into a lot of people. And it's like earlier this year, I had an opportunity to go, and it was Idaho Ag Leadership benefit fundraiser over there in Boise, and I got to work with a crew that I had never worked with before. My buddy has an auction company. He was double booked, couldn't make this one, sent me to it to work with his crew. And so you walk into an atmosphere like that thinking it's a crowd of strangers. One, we have a lot in common because I'm agriculturally focused. They're ag people. There's a bond there that you just can't, there's an acceptance already right off the bat.
Yeah.
So it's up to me to screw that up. And number two, there ended up being 3 or 4 people there that I had met throughout my life that I was able to make that connection with and have some fun with during the course of that auction. That's what makes it all a success.
Yeah. It's life. It's connection. It's, that human element where we're connecting. It is a level of performance, but it's also nice to just, you're working with the audience to make it like larger than life, but you still got to have that connection. If you're not connecting with people, you're hosed. You really are in a live room.
A lot of success in life is being a people person. It truly, honestly is. It doesn't matter what job you have. I was just telling my oldest son this the other day. He's a diesel mechanic, and I'm like, bud, you could be the best mechanic in the shop, but if you don't connect with the customer, that's not going to take you very far. I said, you could be a mediocre mechanic, but as long as you had good people skills and you can connect and respond to customers, you could go far. And then along with that, of course, your mechanic skills are going to also follow that. But in my job, I've been in sales most of my life. People don't buy the product. They buy from the person. And I feel it leads into my role now as a county commissioner. People are buying you for who you are. Are you genuine? Do you have integrity? Do you have honesty? I mean, all of this was in sales trainings I've been to for 20 years.
Mm.
Integrity. They beat you into that. And so as long as you're a people person in your business, you'll go a long ways because you are the one out there shaking hands, taking the time and effort to go the night before to an event that you know no one at, being outgoing enough to go into a crowd of strangers and try and make friends with a few and have some background there, right? It's going to go far.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, that segued very nicely. Let's talk about your role as county commissioner. And you've been in the role for about a year now?
Yeah, 16 months?
16 months.
Almost
Okay, so over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me a cursory overview of, because obviously I think you get so you campaign, then you get elected, now you're sworn in and you're thrown into this job. And there's a lot to learn. Can you talk to me about how you feel like maybe it takes a good 6 to 12 months to even just learn the position, and then now you feel like, hey, now we can actually start really getting down to business?
I use the analogy that it's like you're being interviewed for a job. You think you know what you're going to be doing, but you don't know. Like even campaigning and doing all the research and knowing Commissioner Andrews and knowing Matt Scarfo, you don't get a full sense of what a county commissioner does. You get an idea. So then you're able to you get elected, and then you're in the job day one. Well, you know that there are roles and responsibilities that a county commissioner has to do locally. But it definitely does takes you 6 months to a year. I feel with some of my background with other organizations such as Oregon Cattlemen's Associations, and knowing how to sort through some policy and work and navigate that side of things as a commissioner does. The other big thing that really helped me fitting into this role was Association of Oregon Counties puts on what they call County College, and all newly elected officials, commissioners, have the opportunity, it's not mandated, have the opportunity to go back to Salem and Corvallis once a month for 2.5 days of learning about what the county is mandated to provide as far as services. So, the sheriff, the court, what do we need to do for the court? The court, the judges aren't any of the employees. They're voted in, but that's on a state level. We have to provide the courthouse, public health, mental health, veterans services, public works, your roads. So it gave me an opportunity to go back there for 2.5 days, take a cram course about these things that the county is mandated to do, and go really deep into it. So we would have 4 or 5, 6 items every time. And that was like, yes, you take it with a fire hose, but I would come back to the county with so many questions.
Sure.
Where is our veterans? I didn't even know we had a veterans program. Well, it's within CHD. Oh, so that's how we handle that. So we can contract some of these services outside. So, after 6 months, so we're officially done in June. You have a pretty good sense of an idea of what the county does do. And then it takes you that next 6 months or so to finally see that in action. And then you get a sense of, oh yeah, that's something we're a part of, like roads. Everybody thinks, well, I pay my taxes, I need my roads fixed. Well, all of our funds for the road department come out of the gas tax. We cannot use any general fund money to go to roads. So a lot of that, so there's a concept there that a lot of people don't really understand how the county government works, what can be done, what can't be done. And you get thrown to the wolves at Association of Oregon Counties and that county college program. And it worked wonders.
Yeah.
I recommend it to everyone. And not only do you get schooled in it, then you make a bunch of networking with all the other newly elected. And we have grown a tight group, and we can reach out to each other and see what issues, they're having in, Jefferson County. What do you guys, how do you deal with this there? And it might fit us and it may not, but at least you can have a sounding board, um, at looking at how things are done, So it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I am a citizen of Union County, and I think other citizens would agree with me when I said something along the lines of, you want your newly elected officials to attend something like this, because how can they go in and work on a machine if they don't even know where all the parts of the machine are? Like, where's the where's the driver's seat? Where's the gas pedals? Where's the ignition? Like, if you hop, like you hop into a car, what's the first thing you're supposed to do when you hop into a car? You got to adjust the mirrors. Where are the mirrors? Oh, this one has a backup camera. You got to familiarize yourself with the craft before you start driving the craft and driving the ship. And so I think that's brilliant, that they offer that, and that you were able to do that. Just like you said, the veterans. We've contracted that out through CHD. That's where this is housed. And I love how you said, I came back with so many questions. The county is responsible for this. Where is this being pulled off in the county? And then, yeah, and now and now you could probably speak to a lot of it.
Yep. No, I probably bugged Shelly, Paul, and Matt a lot. I always thought that they feared me coming back that Monday after a county college session, because we would meet, Thursday at 1 o'clock is when we would meet, and meet the rest of the day Thursday, all day Friday, and then half a day Saturday. And I always felt like, oh, geez, Jake's coming back from county college. What question? What's he going to hound me with this Monday morning, And, but no, it was a good learning opportunity, and they realized that too. And, yeah, I guess it shows that I was probably paying attention. If I didn't come back with questions, then what were you doing?
Exactly. Exactly. Talk to me about the time, and then I want to get into going over some details here. Talk to me about the time you've already had in there, like serving with Paul and Matt, and what that's looked like. You're working with Cody Bowen and these other, branches of Union County. What's that been like? Has it been frustrating? Has it been like I feel like I'm pulling teeth with people? Has it been really easy to work with? Is it all about communication? Like, I'm just kind of like, let's pull the veil back a little bit for our listeners of like what that's like.
Up until recently, I mean,
Do you feel like you're up against some big giant machine with
no,
like,
I feel, and I've been telling people this for the last year, is that we are so fortunate to be in Union County. Um, really, we are. We have a balanced budget every year. That is so important. We are able to manage our finances even with skyrocketing cost of public health, our employees' health insurance. We're able to handle things like that and absorb them. We have good department heads, I feel, in all departments that are conscious about how we spend our money. And we've got to be fiscally responsible. I mean, this is the county's, this is your money, this is my money, this is everybody's money. We cannot overspend what we have. And I give kudos to every department head that really has to sit down and construct their budget. I give kudos to Shelly, because she has to sit down and really go through it with a fine tooth comb and be like, okay, is this really going to work here? She'll go back and work with the department heads, and so when it's presented to us commissioners, we already have a sense that this thing has really gone through. We go through it through the budget process hearing, and we can scope it out if there's any questions that we have. Most of the time, there's not. Might have one or two, like, what's this line item here? What is that used for? So Shelly gives us an explanation. So I feel like, and again, to kind of go back to that, I tell everybody we are in a great county. We don't have any issues until recently, as far as everybody, and our voting record is a lot is alike, because I feel like there has been nothing too contentious on our agenda in the budget, in our meetings. I mean, it's usually accepting a grant that Nick Vora has written for and applied, and we're accepting it. I mean, that guy is incredible at finding grant money like crazy. So of course we're all going to vote yes, free money, bring it to the county. Where can we utilize that? That's a lot of our things that we go through, is just day-to-day processes like that. There's been nothing too out of whack that we're going to have to really take a pause on. Working with other, like the sheriff, has been good. He has a pretty good, he and it's great. He wants to see that side of the department succeed, and he wants to see it grow. And he's wanting a new jail. He knows he can't have it right now, but he's still going to fight for it, still work for it.
It's part of his job.
Exactly, providing public, safety. We face our challenges in every department, but I think overall I can go to any one of them and get a straight up conversation about what they need or what they have done, what they need to do. And it's really good.
So after all your training, your schooling, you've been in it for 16 months. If someone were to ask you, Jake, what does a Union County Commissioner do? How would you answer that? If you could try to answer that concisely, because you guys do a lot, but how would you answer that? What does a Union County Commissioner do?
We don't need to be experts about everything that the county does. We need to have general knowledge, which I feel like I've achieved through attending county college, to be able to make sound decisions on things that are brought to us. So first and foremost, in my opinion, priority is budgeting. We've got to know enough about the budget to be able to pass a sound budget. And then the rest is kind of overseeing what's going on at the department head level. What concerns do they have? A lot of them don't really need us for much. But when you look at maybe getting into planning, or you get into public works, and there's always issues with roads, so we get a lot of issues with that. You need to know, again, how is that funded? What's the process to see something get changed? And I think the other thing people need to know when getting into this is you really don't have the power I think a lot of people think you have. There's constraints. First and foremost, I think a lot of people think that the county commissioners are over everyone. Nah. Other elected officials, I'm not their boss. You're their boss. The public is their boss. So I can't tell the sheriff department or the sheriff what to do. All I do is approve his budget that he brings to the county. Same with the DA. I really can't tell her what to do or not do because she's an elected position. The treasurer, the surveyor, the clerk. I mean, we just see that everything goes well with the county. Does that kind of answer that question?
I think so. Like, are you, not to use the term audit, but like, are you kind of, everyone's bringing the budget? It's all these other department heads are bringing all these things to you, and then you guys are going, yes, no, yes, no. You kind of just the last stop on the long list of people going through it and to approve the county's budget as a whole. So like, if the county was a household, right? The county commissioners are the parents going, yep, we can spend money on these groceries. Yep, we're going to get ice cream this week. No, we're not going to get ice cream. Like, you're the parents of the household, essentially, right? Is that a good analogy? Am I close?
Yeah, but the teenagers and the kids in the house are all presenting you with what they want to spend money on, how they want to spend it, and does it fit within the budget? And again, I give kudos to our department heads because they don't give Shelley too much work and by the time it gets to the commissioners and through the budget committee, there's really nothing to say yes or no to. It's already been done in the back room. And so when it gets to us, we oversee to make sure everything's lining up, everything's balanced. There's some contingency monies here and there. Perfect. Like I say, when it gets to us, we rarely have any questions about the budget.
You gave me this list before we came on here, and it's called the 2026 Union County Commissioner Liaison designations. I didn't know what that meant, so I'll give you an opportunity to explain what's the liaison. Is it roles, or like, can you tell us what this whole list is? And it's for all three commissioners, right? You see 3 columns. This is Jake's column here. Can you explain that a little bit?
So some of those roles as a liaison, you actually are sitting on a board, or you may be a chair of one of those organizations. Some you're just the guy to go to if you have a problem within the county. For example, couple of them on there, I do City of Union, City of Cove.
Mm-hmm.
I attend those city council meetings when I can. If asked, I give updates of what's going on in the county. Sometimes they have questions, hey, how does this work in the county? So I'll be that in-between guy to go back to the other commissioners or Shelley and get things figured out and then go back to them. Obviously, we divvy them up in threes because there's a lot there and we want it channeled. That's not to say that I can't have a conversation about another commissioner's liaison group, which I had one this morning. It's just that that's I'm the contact for that group.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's my responsibility then to go back and inform the other commissioners at some point what is going on. If there is if there's an issue or a need that needs to be addressed. Like, for example, recently we're looking at Buffalo Peak in the Prescott ditch. So it's an irrigation ditch that comes out of Catherine Creek. It got washed out in 2019 floods. I was made aware of the issues that it's having, and it's not supplying enough water to the users, including Buffalo Peak Golf Course. So I take that information, I took it to a work session with the other commissioners and made them aware of this is a project that needs to be done in the county. And so right there is where we get informed and that's where I invited some other people come in to speak on that subject. So it's kind of one of those deals so that all the commissioners are informed and know what's going on, but they're not into the know like I usually am. Sure, if that makes sense.
In your specific liaison, like
Yep.
that's kind of your expertise. Like,
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And as I was discussing with you before we got on, so I'm heavily ag and natural resource focused.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see on my list is 95% ag and natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my strengths. And so that's where I feel like I fit best and would serve the county the best.
And when, you and whoever else is sitting in the other two chairs as commissioner, you guys can hand these, and you're handing these off, like you said, for like strengths. You're very ag centric. So you were happy to take over those. Whereas, another county commissioner might be, I don't know, business heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there's some business liaisons going on for them, or healthcare,
economic development, energy, some things that maybe I'm not as strong in, but maybe they've got some strengths in. So we try to line those up. Every January, we have that opportunity to go through the list and make sure everybody's happy or good with where they're at on that list. That list could change at any time. We could call a meeting or a work session here, next work session, and be like, I'm not happy with these 10. Who wants them?
Sure.
So it can be changed anytime.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then it's just that communication back and forth between all the commissioners together as a group, to ultimately do what's best for our county.
Yep.
You gave me quite an extensive list here, dating back to when you were sworn in all the way up to this month, April 2026. You have done so many different things on here. Is there anything, before I kind of go down some of these myself, is there any one of these accomplishments or anything that you're working on that really sticks out to you or that you really want to tell our listeners?
There's probably the one that I didn't mention in there is much.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of give a brief explanation on it. So I think we were at a county college in Salem. OSU Extension brought in a person who is the youth CTE coordinator under the extension program, and she gave a talk about a trades career fair that she put on in Grant County. And it really got me to thinking. I mean, there were some good things that aligned there. For one, all during our campaign, we heard we need to create jobs for Union County. How can we create jobs? Well, I don't know if I'm if a lot of people are like me, but initially when I think we need to create jobs, I was thinking, college education type jobs, right? Well, when she gave that presentation to me, that's where it clicked. A light bulb went off, and I'm like, no, these are jobs. These are family wage jobs that we can bring back to the community. Because for one, I had hired or tried to hire or hired electricians and plumbers within the last 2 years to come do small jobs. Nothing big, but I was willing to have them do the job. It was a chore. It was really difficult to fit a time frame that wasn't weeks out. And is it a shortage of these plumbers and electricians with the apprenticeships and all that go on? And then it was a common story that I'd heard from a lot of people. If you weren't building a new house or a new commercial building, it was really hard to get these electricians or plumbers to come work with you. So I'm like, there's definitely a need, and plumbers and electricians make good family wage jobs. Money, income. That's the kind of people, and that's the kind of jobs that I'm trying to focus in on here in Union County, is just to provide those types of services. And so that really got me to thinking. So I approached the Digit McCracken, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this in Union County, for Union County. So with her help and guidance, we formed a committee, and I said, I want to do it this fall. And they're like, well, most of these career fairs are in the spring. Are you sure you don't want? I'm like, no, I want to do it this fall. I said, one of the issues that I had when our oldest was interested in going into the trades as a diesel mechanic was knowing the pathway. How do we get there? We knew he wanted to go be a diesel mechanic. So he had to research and talk to a lot of people to find out that he wanted to go to Wyotech. And then what do we do? Is there scholarships available? All this was done the spring of. We didn't have enough time to get him properly on his way. We got him there. But I'm thinking, it gives an opportunity for these seniors, instead of thinking about graduation the fall before, it gives them time to think and about what they want to do as a career.
Sure.
Gives them opportunities. And then we also invite juniors. Gives them another year to think about what do they want to do after they graduate? What are they exposed to? So we did it last October. We put something together. We had it at the stock show grounds. I think we had 22 or 23, I call them vendors, and that could be anyone from a local business, a state agency, or a community college or a trade school that had something to offer. And we had about 150 kids from the county here, and we also had representation out of Wallowa County too. I felt like I would incorporate Wallowa County, being they're kind of in that pocket that's so far away from everything.
Yeah.
So we had a tremendous turnout. We had a tremendous program. We had everything there from, again, Wyotech was there. We had Blue Mountain, Treasure Valley, Walla Walla with all of their programs, welding, diesel mechanics, ag mechanics, Blue Mountain with their drone program. And we also had Precision Technologies out of Pendleton with their drone there, and they give a demo. And we had ODOT there. We had Oregon Department of Forestry. We had a lot of contractor unions there. So it was big eye-opening to all these kids sitting there going, oh, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was an offer.
Yeah, what jobs exist? Yeah, for sure.
I had a local graduate of high school here come and speak during lunch. And he told his story. Hey, I was going to school in Reno, decided I wanted to be a welder, started working for an outfit. I got certified, went to school, got certified. Now I'm back here welding for this company. And he goes, I'm making $30 to $40 an hour now. But if we get on some of these jobs, what do they pay those?
Like prevailing wage?
Yes, prevailing wage. He goes, we're looking at a job right now in Medford. Requires a little travel, but if we get it, I'll be under prevailing wage. And it's under a pipe fitters welding or something like that. It was like making $90 to $100 an hour.
Wow. Yeah.
How many 17, 18-year-old kids in that grandstand was like, what? I could be making, $40 an hour on the norm, get an opportunity to go work for a couple of weeks to a month or months at $80 to $100 an hour, they see money.
Yeah, and doing something that they like doing, that they enjoy doing too.
Yep. They also had that demo of that drone. The one question was asked, how old do you have to be licensed to fly that drone? 16.
Oh, driver's license age.
Yeah.
Really?
There's opportunity there. How many kids are sitting at home with good eye and hand coordination,
Yeah.
playing them games and virtual games and whatnot? It gives them, and it ties in that technology that they just might have a passion for.
Gosh, who was I taught? I think it was this business deal I was emceeing. I'd pop into some of those breakouts. I think that's where I heard it. But somebody was talking about obviously AI is a hot topic everywhere, but they were talking about all these different technological tools, and they were really encouraging local businesses get some of these tools, upgrade to some of these tools, because it's going to intrigue. And like, look, farming, agronomy, there's so much technology available and in agronomy these days that you have to keep up with. And I'm not just talking about the GPS guided tractors. There's so much more in math and the biology and the science that goes into that. It's amazing when you start looking at the artisan of agriculture and the technology that's available. It's not just about self-driving tractors. It's about, AI, might be able to take an image of an entire field at this point, and using infrared, it can go, well, these are the spots that need water. The whole field doesn't need water, it's just these spots. Well, so let's hit those spots. It's saving water. It's just, it goes on and on and on about some of the benefits of, and I'll be the first guy too that's like, I don't know about some of this technology, but I can see. I was talking with Corey Miller at one point, talking about OTech. He goes, we're headed to some conference, how AI is going to be able to see from satellite imagery and go, here's the potential problem trees, rather than having to put a surveyor on the ground and do all this and that and just go out and take care of the problem. So it's really interesting with the technology and this generation coming into the workforce. They want to be productive and they want to use the cool tools.
Oh, it's at everybody's fingertips. I mean, even at the last job that I was managing that feed store, we'd have to go out in inventory time. We got to count pipe. How are you going to count a stack of pipe? That's 4 foot by 4 foot tall, and 1, 2, and then you get about halfway through, you're going to lose count. They make an app that you can take a picture, and that artificial intelligence counts the pipe for you.
More accurately than you.
Way more accurately. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, there's so much out there, and that doesn't require a 4-year, 6-year, 8-year degree out of a college or university.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a bad way. I'm just wanting to show these kids that there's other opportunity out there, and it was a big success. We're already planning our next one here to be held the end of September.
Okay.
We've got all the schools that showed up were super excited. Well worth it. All the vendors were excited to bring back more stuff, more hands-on stuff for these kids to get their hands on.
So they saw how energized the kids were, and it made all the vendors go, we want to step up our game and do even more next year.
Yep.
That's how energized the vendors were.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. But you guys rented tables and chairs for me too.
We did.
So I appreciate that.
Hey,
that goes a long ways.
Always willing to help out. Yeah, wherever we can.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm looking here. It seems like, can you talk to me? You do so much obviously during the work week, but there's a lot of after hours and like meetings and city council meetings and attending this and attending that. How are you keeping that all in balance?
I'm a workaholic.
Okay. You're in good company. Okay.
I don't really keep track of my time. I try to be present in the office every day by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I try and stay there, 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. I feel that's important because there's some of them meetings and stuff that I'm involved with committee wise that you can be on a Zoom for right during the middle of the day. Obviously writing letters and stuff that takes up a lot of time, researching some of these things. We might go to, have a couple meetings a week that are in the evening. It's just, it is what it is.
Comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory,
Yeah.
And that gives me flexibility too. So like Fridays, I don't schedule heavy. No one really does. So if there's something that I can sneak away for in the afternoon to go do, that's kind of how I manage that time. But I really try and focus on being present in the office, working on something every day.
I love that. You can easily, I feel like, and it's any salaried position, if private, government, whatever, you have to be very self-motivated to keep going. I mean, it's easy to get bogged down with even just the unimportant things. Like, I find myself here, um, and I love walk-ins and I love all the things, but so a lot of times I'm working on something that's very important, and then the phone rings, and then this fire crops up, and so you can end up spending the whole day putting out fires and never get done what you actually needed to get done that day. Do you run into that at the county level? Yes. How many times have you had to change your phone number since you got elected?
None. I changed it right before I took office.
Okay.
Because for one, that last number I had was really tied in to the store I was managing, and I was like, I don't think I want to be getting phone calls, with that business for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
Although I would love to talk to the customers, but I'm just like, yeah, I better cut this right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, just no, have had the one phone number for so long. So yeah,
Yeah. It really is all about balance. I see some EOU stuff on here. Talk to me about your relationship with EOU.
they're a great partner. I mean, a great employer, a great addition to this county. And when I say that, I mean it brings diversity into the county here, and it gives that opportunity for kids to come here locally and from afar to seek out the education that they want. Um, why not support a local university? I mean, it's what brings people to our county, and we have a lot of graduates out of them programs at Eastern that come here from another state, another city, and then they're employed here. They start families here. They don't leave.
Mhm.
That's not a bad thing because we have enough kids that are leaving. So it's a great trade-off. Like I say, it brings that diversification. And, I don't know how many classmates that I had that ended up graduating with an Eastern degree. They didn't have to go to OSU, U of O. They didn't have to. They could work, stay at home, get a great education. I haven't seen, you know, I haven't heard of anybody saying, well, I graduated Eastern and I couldn't get a job with that degree.
Mhm.
No, there's opportunity out there. And to have it right here locally that our kids can still be here locally, it's a great opportunity. So Dr. Kelly Ryan, she's new, been here about a year and a half, 2 years maybe, really sees the value of that rural school emphasis on the county and what it can provide. Um, and then you have Tim Seidel, who works a lot with policy advocation. They're working on. So one of the letters of support I did was in to support them on starting a program or continuing a program to provide education within the prison facilities, correctional facilities, so that some of these inmates can have an opportunity to prepare themselves for a job market after they are released from prison.
Oh,
It's all part of the rehabilitation process.
okay.
And so it's great to have Eastern involved with that because we have, what, 4 correctional facilities off the top of my mind within 2 hours of Eastern.
Yeah.
And there's no other university closer to them 4 out of the state of Oregon. So you've got Snake River is in Ontario. You got Powder is in Baker, Eastern Oregon Correctional Facility in Pendleton, and Two Rivers out of Umatilla. So there's 4 universities there, or 4 prisons there, correctional facilities that this university could impact at some time.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Reinstituting and rehabilitation is a huge thing. We have a bit of a passion of that here at the ADAT as well. So yeah, I don't want to go into. I've got some stories. I don't want to necessarily go into stories on that right now. But talk to me about, everyone knows the problems that we're having at a city level, at a county level. We all know the things that people are complaining about. We don't need to go into that. I really wanted to have you on here, Jake, to talk about the positive. What is going good? You've talked earlier in the show about we've got a balanced budget. We've got all these things. Can you just go down and just give us all the positives again of what's happening that you're seeing from your chair, and to just what is that positive message for the people of Union County right now?
Well, I think we have opportunity. We're at a pretty good point right now. Um, we started looking into the opportunity zone 2.0. Okay, so federally, and they use a per capita income level to identify these opportunity zones, and these opportunity zones are then put out there at the state level. They're mapped. We have 2 in the county right now. We're in the process of applying for one of those opportunity zones to qualify to be picked by our governor. We've got a couple things headed, that are in our favor. One is we're a rural county, and federally they've made some benefits to pick rural counties for these opportunity zones. When I say opportunity zones, this is for development of any manufacturing or any housing, or to come into our economic development plan within the county.
Okay.
So there's opportunity there for us to get this tract of land. It includes the airport. It goes all the way out Highway 82 out to about Booth, comes across Peach, all the way over to Highway 30, and then back into town, and then it goes up Island City Avenue and out that way. Well, we've got a lot of opportunity there right now. Mulholland Drive is gaining some steam, with the new hotel. We had Commercial Tire move back in there. I believe I heard that D&B Supplies got a conditional use permit to build a new store back there. There's opportunity there. Then let's create some housing. So LeGrand's been looking at that chunk of ground south of LeGrand. How do we get infrastructure out there to build this new housing development area? In my mind, it's like the chicken and the egg. What's going to come first? I feel like if we put in some housing projects, get in some development, and have that housing available, we're going to look very attractive to all these developers that want to come in here for manufacturing, because the housing's already there. They're not going to have to worry about where are we going to put our workers that we're going to attract from this community or out of the community. Where are we going to house them? If we can have that all in place, then that'll just follow naturally, because our services will be there for them.
So I'm hearing you say that jobs, we need to create jobs, we need to create housing. What I'm hearing you say is, if we create the housing, if we build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm. And this opportunity zone that we're applying for, she's got the ability to choose like 55 out of the state. And there's a lot in the state. You get along that I-5 corridor, there's a lot of opportunity zones. Like I say, what we have going for us is we're rural. We're not quite shovel ready, but we have all of our things in place to be very attractive. So we're hoping that happens, because then that gives some developers some tax breaks and incentive to pick us as a spot to develop in. So I think that's positive, right? We had those questions proposed to us. What are you going to do for housing in Union County? Well, there's not a lot you can do at the county level to put housing in, but these are the steps that can make it.
Yeah.
To get to that point that we are trying to incentivize more housing development in Union County. So we're working closely with the city of LeGrand on that, and the city of Island City. We're working with Brian McDowell with Business Oregon. We're getting all these things put together. The applications due May 22nd. So I'm head of economic development on the Liaison list. So I'm working close with them groups to try and institute them things. In the meantime, another positive housing. I was approached by one of the wood manufacturing facilities, and they're like, "Hey, I've heard of this being done, but it's called temporary workforce housing, being allowed on industrial zoned lands." So I went to our planning department. I'm like, "Hey, is this possible?" Well, no. It is at the state level, but currently there's an ordinance at the county level that prohibits this from happening. So I said, well, let's change that. Take that to the planning commission, discuss it. Let's change that, because we have an opportunity here with such tight housing supply that to be attractive for big contracting outfits to come into to work on a multi-year project, let's say at one of these facilities, hotel costs would be high, limited Airbnbs, and that's not quite the way Airbnbs want to operate. And then rentals. We have a university in town. We're in competition with college kids and people renting. So this would give that business an opportunity to develop the infrastructure to put in a temporary workforce housing, i.e. could be little single-wide trailers, tiny homes, RVs, park model RVs, and then when that project's done,
it goes away.
So I sent that to the Planning Commission. They looked it all over. They come up with a plan. They invited me in. I talked about it one evening, why I felt that there was a need, why I thought this was a good idea. I was focused on just helping that one business, and I'm glad the commission brought me in there that night, and they're like, well, what about this? Could another business use it? Could we do it in light industrial too? And I'm like, I don't see why not. And so we started brainstorming. They got it put together, and I believe it was February or March of this year that we passed it at the board, so that now a conditional use permit could be issued for them to do that.
So that county ordinance was then revised or done away with?
Revised, yep.
It was revised. So now what is okay at the state level is now also okay here in the county.
Yep.
I love that. See, I love that that was being creative and just taking some handcuffs off. Untying the hands, like...
Well, you could see why, right?
I get it.
Who wants to live on an industrial zone piece of ground with manufacturing happening? It'd be noisy, safety issues.
I get it.
But everybody sees this need, and we had tackled it.
Yeah.
That's what we got done.
That's really cool. And then now you have, that industry going, and they can get creative on not only how to, probably not as creative to build it, but like when it needs to be done, when the project's over, you're not just going to set it to fire. I mean, if they're tiny homes, sell the tiny homes.
Yeah. And one of the deals, and this is where I say in the commission thought outside the box, they're like, well, what if this business or facility didn't have the green space to allow the temporary workforce housing, but they were neighboring to this other facility that did? Could they rent or lease out that green space for that project over there? Yes.
Cool.
I mean, and then, it's, I believe, on a 2-year deadline. After 2 years, they can take it out. Or if they need to, if the project's taken longer, they can ask for an extension. I mean, I think will help us get some projects moving for the manufacturers in this county.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, I love that. That's, Jake, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. Like, well, here's the problem. Here's a solution, how other places are doing it. You didn't reinvent the wheel. We're not reinventing the wheel. What's working in other communities? Can we do it here? What's keeping us from doing it here?
Yeah, I think we're like second or third in the state to be able to have this opportunity in our land use laws at the local level to be to allow this. So yeah, it was a big thing. And here's the key. All it is listening to the constituents. They come to you with an idea. Hey, how can we do this? Then it's up to me. How can we do this? Go through the process, get things done, take it back to the constituents.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. Getting stuff done, hearing about the problem, going through the right process to get it done, and then just getting it done.
Yep.
Okay, what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to this next year?
I got 2 projects that I'm kind of working on. One was started last November, December. One was recently brought to us here in February. And they all have to deal with water storage. So part of my liaison group, I'm part of this, get ready for this long, Upper Grand Ronde River Place-Based Water Planning Group.
Whoa.
Yes. I don't know I just always call it now the place-based group. You're supposed to know what that is.
Okay.
Water. So we were the first group recognized in the state to get a plan, get through our planning, and get recognized as a group. That took 6 years. And the last 3 years, they've just been kind of sitting idly. So what they do now, the last 6 years or so, now we're collecting data and research, identifying spots that can be used for water storage above ground, aquifer recharge, because we all want to help mitigate the flooding that we can have in the valley. We all want to have water for irrigation, and we all want to see enough stream flow in the late season to help our salmonids, baby fish, get out to the ocean and be able to come back. So those 3 things got to check my boxes. The first project that was brought to me was, there's a place out in the middle of the valley called Conley Lake. There's no lake.
Okay.
It's been dry
Okay.
for a lot of years. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife owns that currently. Perfect. Let's go in there. It's like within half mile, 3/4 of a mile of the Grand Ronde River. Let's pipe some water over to that lake, fill it up, let it soak into the ground, recharge the aquifer if we need to, if we can, pump it back into Catherine Creek or Grand Ronde River for late stream or late season flow. Well, there was an issue. What got brought to our attention, it's under this WRP, Wetland Reserve Program. And this is a federal level program. At one point, a farmer that owned the ground put it into there because it was unproductive. Put it into this program. They got a big chunk of change, and now it's in this program. Literally takes an act of Congress to get it out of this program. There are ways that if we kept it in the program that we could do some excavation to restore it back to its wetland purpose. Or congressionally, we can go and submit a bill, which I believe is what Bence's office is doing right now on my behalf, to go through committee and get this taken out of the program. And we would be able to do a lot more with it out of the program. With it in the program, water depth can only be 6.5 feet high. There's potential to hold a lot of water in this facility. If we were to build up banks, dump a bunch of water on this 160-acre lake, and if we went 40 feet, that's a lot of water. So I'm in the process of looking at that. Initially, we were kind of bummed out about the WRP program because the NRCS guys were like, takes an act of Congress, literally. And out of the several that we have seen being trying to take out over the nation, none of them has succeeded.
Oh.
Well, tell me I can't do something.
Yeah.
I'm going to try like heck to get it done. So I reach out to Bence's office, and they were like, well, we'll see what we can get done. We kind of like push that off to the back burner, like it's not going to happen. They reached out back to me about a month ago, and they're like, so here's where we are. If you want to continue with this, we'll submit a bill in committee and have it go through Congress to get this taken out. If that's what you want to, yes, let's do it.
Wow.
Let's go through the process and see
do
if
it.
we can fail.
Yeah.
So
that's lobbying for, that's going, Jake, you're now functioning, you're lobbying for Union County at the federal level.
Oh, yeah.
To Congress. That's awesome. Somebody has to be the mouthpiece over here going, look, yay, pay attention to us. We're relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to, all they can say is no if you never ask, right?
Right. And we knew 20, 30 years ago when I was in college that water was always going to be an issue. And it is. Every session that we have statewide at the state level, water is always a big issue. So now that was the idea was given to me by a constituent. I run with it.
Yeah.
Here, February, 2 more constituent farmers in the valley come to me with another plan. They're like, hey, at one point, you'll have to understand the graphic of this, the geographical nature. At one point, the Grand Ronde River swirled all the way through the valley. And that created some flooding issues. So the best way to get rid of flooding is to straighten out a channel. So they call a little section out there off of Highway 82, kind of out there in the valley, they call it the state ditch. They straightened that and reconnected the Grand Ronde River. They cut off miles of meandering Grand Ronde River bed. The bed's still there. It's not farmed. Most of it is still not farmed.
Yeah.
It's just a slough out there. So they come to me and was like, hey, we want to store water in the old riverbed. All right. Well, that's optimistic. I'm all about storing water
Sure.
and then letting it soak down naturally into the aquifer.
Sure.
So we contacted Jim Webster with the Soil and Water Conservation District to run it by him to see, you slowly kind of got to work that up. So we got in touch with Jim Webster, told him our idea, or told him their idea, and it's Max Nielsen and Nathan Weishauer. And Darren Walenta and I sat in on the first meeting. Then we involved with Jim, and Jim's like very optimistic, like, yeah, I think this is something that can be done. This is good.
Interesting.
So then we take it to the place-based planning group.
Yes.
And we're discussing it. And now we're shifting some GSI work done to be on this, to get some data, to then go and look at doing some permitting. I mean, this is a project that can be happening, within the next 2 years. And this will take place, storing water from basically off of Pierce, where the Grand Ronde River crosses under Pierce. And it'll run that through the old slough, the old riverbed, all the way and tie back into Catherine Creek out off of, clear out there by, I'd believe it'd be like over by Lower Cove Road or right around Cove.
Oh, really?
Because currently a farmer takes water off that Catherine Creek side in a one-way valve, fills up a big portion of that old riverbed for his water storage to be able to irrigate out of. But it's all connected and intertwined. So there's miles of water that we're going to spread out through the valley there to, again, help mitigate for flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Check the box for recharging that aquifer. And then again, hopefully at some point that once we figure out the dynamics and see some modeling, that we can add water late stream to help the fish habitat in the fall.
That's fascinating. So correct me if I'm wrong. So what's happening right now is we get the snow runoff, the rain runoff, and that's all just running. Like no one's pulling. So like all that winter stuff.
Yeah.
And that early spring stuff is it's flowing and eventually ended up in the Columbia or the Snake River. I guess it's eventually into the Columbia, right? And then it's going to the ocean. So we're missing out on all of that.
Absolutely. You look at our county to the south of us. How many reservoirs are in Baker County?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There's Thief Valley, Pilcher Creek, Wolf Creek, Phillips. You look at even Brownlee. I'm probably missing one or two more. Baum Creek. They went on a heyday of harvesting all this water storage when they could, when there was less red tape and administrative burden. And that is crucial to their ag program in Baker County. This year they're struggling because obviously no snowpack.
So the reservoirs haven't filled what they normally would.
No.
Yeah.
And they may not. But at least they had the foresight to be like, we need to trap some of this water that's running right by us and headed into the Snake River that then is headed into the Columbia. We're at that point now. Of course, the opportunity for us to build an above-ground storage reservoir is probably limited to none. But at least we can take the old infrastructure and develop that. And because I think we're tired of seeing all that water run through the county and not be utilized here locally.
Yeah, November through what, April?
Yeah.
November. So I live on Catherine Creek in Union. And this is one of the things I love about my property. Just open the window or step outside. I can hear the water running all year long until it's the trickle at the end of August and there's nothing left. Right. But yeah, November through, like I said, April, just stream. Just a huge abundance of water running through there.
And that's the time frame that we're able to store that water. So we'll pull off stream, fill up that big reservoir, and just let it percolate.
I love
do whatever we can instead of watching it go to the Columbia that then is pumped out by water users out of Umatilla, Morrow County. They're the ones benefiting out of our water running straight through here.
Right.
So let's capture what we can.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that we have a moratorium on drilling a new ag well in the valley here because our aquifer is not being recharged at a rate that we are taking out.
Mm.
So I don't care if it's a 10-acre pond that we can store water in. I don't care if it's a 5-foot ditch, a mile long that we can open store water on. We should try and capture as much water and recharge our aquifers any way we can, any way that's economical.
Interesting. I love that. Oh, that is a huge problem. Housing and irrigation. That's my big takeaways from today. And opportunity. Sorry, I'm taking away the positivity and opportunity. There's opportunity here. Well, Jake, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this thing up? Is there anything that we didn't cover? Are there any thank yous any shout outs you want to say to anybody? Why not putting you on the spot here?
Yeah, that's kind of on the spot. No, I mean, I could be here all day talking about everything I've done over the last year, from providing in-person testimony in Salem, virtual testimony, all the written letters of support to local organizations, Southwest County Health or South County Health District. I mean, I could be here all day talking about Union County Safe Communities Coalition, everything that I'm involved with, trying to make a difference in. Going back to DC, not only, we have to go for PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. We're making trips to DC not to just have vacations. We're trying to advocate for this county, because if we're not at the table, we're not on the menu.
Yep.
And it's the same way in Salem. I mean, look how long it took Commissioner Scarfo to get. We've got to be in Salem in front of these people, making relationships. They need to know our name,
Yep.
and who we look like and where we're from and what we need. And that's all I'm trying to do is just, I guess the last little bit I'd like to say is, I've gained so much, and have been involved with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife over the last year, being on interview panels, being on landowner preference or landowner tag panels, just being involved with the wildlife side of things, trying to help manage the elk and try and keeping them off the valley floor, meeting with farmers and ranchers. These are the everyday problems that affect us here. Wolf problems, big. I just was speaking in front of the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting last Friday on a panel about the wolf compensation program that the county runs. What's good, what's bad, what's working, what's not. There's a lot of this that goes with the person that sits in this chair. And I am proud to represent Union County. Shout out to my constituents. We live in a great place. Scenery, people, and it's just trying to bring it all together for the betterment.
What's the best way somebody can get in touch with you if they have questions or if they have ideas, then maybe they're moved by something we said here? What's the best way?
Email Seavert at union-county.org. Or I believe you can call the commissioner's office, 541-963-1001, I believe it is.
Okay. And they can get the email from there. They can leave something, maybe get a meeting.
Yeah, the door is always open. Like I say, that's how I get things to work on, is by talking to people in the community. I'm not just sitting there in my office thinking, what can I disrupt today? These are people bringing problems, and hopefully that we can provide solutions to.
Well, awesome. Jake, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'd just like to say, too, keep a lookout. I'm going to probably be more active on my social media and just keeping in touch with the county, of letting them know where I'm at, what I'm doing, and what I'm advocating for on their behalf.
I love that.
Thank you for your time, or thank you for giving me time today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Okay, guys, Jake Seavert, Commissioner Jake Seavert. If you have questions, get a hold of him. We'll see you next time.